Prepare to forget everything you thought you knew about coalitions of male lions, because the story we're about to share today is truly legendary. Meet Noche, the formidable dominant lion whose presence commanded respect even among his own offspring. The accounts you are about to hear challenge conventional understandings of animal behavior, especially that of lions. Today, you will be transported to the Masai Mara Reserve to unravel the legend of Noche, the undisputed king. If you enjoy stories about lions and wildlife, the sacred encounter is your place. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. On the vast and stunning plains of the Masai Mara, where the horizon seems endless and the savannah glows golden under the scorching sun, a figure emerges, imposing and majestic. Noche. His dark mane is unmistakable, and his presence dominates the landscape. Throughout his life, Noche has become more than just a lion. He has transformed into a living legend. His feats, victories, and leadership have shaped the course of lion history in the Masai Mara, and his deeds have been closely witnessed by attentive eyes. Noche didn't start his journey as the absolute king. Like any young lion, he faced challenges and battles, earning his place among the great felines of the Masai Mara. Over years of fights, Noche conquered territories, formed alliances, and earned the respect of his rivals. But he knew that true power wasn't measured solely by physical strength. Intelligence, the ability to form coalitions, and the wisdom to preserve and expand his territory were part of his rise. Alongside other males, Noche stood out, but it was with the birth of his 5 sons, Noche II, Ron, Caesar, Grimace, and the 5th brother, that his reign took on a new dimension. It wasn't just about him, it was about the legacy he would leave. And it was with his sons that Noche formed one of the most powerful coalitions ever seen in the Masai Mara. United, these 6 lions became invincible, dominating vast areas and commanding respect from all rivals. Noche's story did not go unnoticed. His feats and the dynamics of his coalition were documented with extreme dedication by renowned documentarians and conservationists who spent years observing and recording the wildlife of the Masai Mara. Among them was Jonathan Scott, a leading figure behind the program Big Cat Diary, who captured crucial moments of Noche's life and his coalition. Alongside Scott, Angela Scott and Jackson Ole Luseya also played key roles in documenting every detail of the region's wildlife, especially the epic battles and the evolution of Noche's coalition. But it wasn't just the documentarians who watched closely. Staff from the Masai Mara Park, including rangers, safari guides, and biologists, witnessed day by day the imposing presence of Noche and his family. They knew the rhythms of life in the Masai Mara, the constant tension between predators, and the delicate balance between life and death. Rangers like Joseph Okello and biologists like Sylvia Ngetich understood the importance of monitoring the health of ecosystems, and Noche's presence at the top of the food chain was a vital indicator of the stability of that wild environment. These privileged observers, armed with cameras, binoculars, and a deep respect for nature, watched closely the fierce battles, moments of tranquility, and the growth of Noche's offspring. They saw history unfold, a history that spoke not just of survival, but of the creation of a true lion empire. As the years passed, Noche's coalition solidified as an unbeatable force. With each victory, with each new territory conquered, Noche moved closer to his ultimate goal, ensuring that his name and blood continued to dominate the Masai Mara for generations. For him, leadership was not just a privilege, it was a responsibility he carried with pride and wisdom. And so, under the watchful eyes of documentarians and park staff, the story of Noche and his sons began to intertwine with the very fate of the Masai Mara. They were more than lions. They were symbols of the struggle for survival, the strength of family, and the continuity of wildlife. Noche sees in his sons the continuity of everything he has built. From an early age, he trains them rigorously, teaching them not only to hunt and fight, but also to understand the politics of the animal kingdom. Noche is no ordinary leader. He understands that brute strength alone is not enough to maintain power. Wisdom, patience, and the ability to form and break alliances at the right moment are essential skills for surviving in the savannah. These lessons would be crucial for his sons, who would inherit not only his territory, but also his battles and rivalries. The 5 young males grow under their father's tutelage, watching him lead, protect, and conquer. They quickly learn that, in the Masai Mara, the life of a lion is defined by the constant struggle for supremacy, and, under Notch's leadership, they thrive. Together, the 6 form an invincible coalition, continually expanding their territory and commanding respect among other lion coalitions. The coalition of Notch, comprising Notch and his sons, begins to dominate the Masai Mara scene, defeating rivals and conquering new females and territories. Each new piece of land conquered is a victory that reinforces his dominion and power. Notch's sons, in turn, begin to gain confidence and show their individual skills. Notch, too, the oldest, emerges as a natural leader among his brothers, demonstrating the same talent for leadership as his father. The fame of the coalition spreads across the Masai Mara. They are known for their collective strength and the cunning with which they plan their hunts and battles. However, this rise to power does not occur without attracting unwanted attention. Other, smaller and weaker lion coalitions begin to unite in a desperate attempt to challenge the authority of Notch and his sons. Tensions in the savannah rise, and violent confrontations begin to become inevitable. On several occasions, Notch's coalition faces rival groups, often defeating them with ease. But a new threat emerges. A rival coalition of young, strong, and ambitious males who wish to take control of the territory conquered by Notch and his sons. The most decisive moment in the lives of Notch and his sons arrives. A coalition of rival lions, comprising 5 young males known for their brute strength and insatiable ambition, emerges on Notch's lands. These lions are different from the enemies they have faced until now. They are young, determined, and willing to do whatever it takes to overthrow the dominant coalition. The challenge becomes evident when one of them, scarred from recent battles, is spotted prowling around Notch's coalition hunting territory. The tension is palpable. Notch, now aged, observes from a distance, aware that this will be the greatest test for his sons. He knows his own strength is not what it used to be, but he trusts in the abilities of the 5 young males he has trained since they were cubs. The ensuing battle will be brutal, long, and full of twists. The initial confrontations are fierce. The rival coalition begins to invade strategic areas of Notch's territory, trying to isolate members of the coalition and weaken their unity. They attack mercilessly, taking advantage of their strength and speed. Notch's coalition, now led by Notch 2, quickly responds to the attack, rallying the brothers and preparing for direct confrontation. The battle unfolds on several fronts. Notch 2 and his brothers demonstrate the unity and experience they have gained over the years. They fight side by side, protecting each other and using the wisdom passed down by their father. While the rival coalition tries to use their youth and strength to dominate, Notch's sons employ more refined tactics. They surround their enemies, drawing them into disadvantageous positions and using the terrain to their advantage. The battle stretches for hours. Ron and Caesar, known for their ferocity, manage to drive away 2 of the rival males, seriously wounding them. Grimace, more silent and strategic, helps isolate the leader of the enemy coalition, allowing Notch 2 to face him directly. This confrontation between the 2 leaders is the climax of the battle, a fight for supremacy that will decide the fate of both coalitions. Notch 2, though older than the rival leader, uses his experience and patience to control the fight. He knows that instead of relying solely on strength, he needs to wear down his opponent. The 2 males engage in brutal combat, with teeth and claws tearing flesh. The rival leader, young and impetuous, attacks with all his might. But Notch 2 remains steadfast, dodging the fiercest blows and counter-attacking at the right moments. Meanwhile, the other brothers continue the battle against the remaining rival males. Caesar and Grimace, fighting side by side, demonstrate the unity and coordination that only brothers could have. They move as a unit, blocking attacks and landing precise strikes. The sound of battle echoes across the savannah, and the documentarians watch, fascinated and horrified by the intensity of the confrontation. As time passes, the advantage begins to tilt towards Notch's coalition. The rival leader, exhausted and wounded, begins to lose ground to Notch 2, who, seeing an opportunity, launches a devastating attack. With a precise move, Notch 2 knocks down the enemy and ends the fight with a fatal bite. Seeing their leader defeated, the other males of the rival coalition begin to retreat, weakened and demoralized. The battle is won, but the victory comes at a cost. Notch's sons are exhausted and injured, and the savannah around them is marked by the scars of the fight. The Masai Mara, once peaceful, is now a blood-stained battlefield. However, Notch's coalition remains intact, stronger and more united than ever. The victory against the rival coalition solidifies the dominance of Notch's sons over the Masai Mara. They are now the undisputed rulers of the region, and the name of Notch, though he is now old and removed from the fights, remains a legend. Notch 2, now the undisputed leader, takes on the responsibility of protecting the territory and continuing his father's legacy. As the battle in the Masai Mara reaches its climax, Notch 2, now at the forefront with his brothers, feels the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He is no longer just one of Notch's sons. He is the de facto leader, and his performance in this fight may determine the future of his coalition and his father's legacy. The savannah, which has always been their home, now becomes a blood-stained battlefield, and the air vibrates with the sound of powerful roars and the brutal collision of lion bodies in combat. The battle continues fiercely. The sun begins to set on the horizon, tinting the sky with shades of orange and red, as if reflecting the heat and intensity of the battle below. The smell of blood fills the air, and the vast fields of the Masai Mara become a stage of destruction, where every movement can be the difference between life and death. The enemy is strong, young, full of energy and impetuosity, but Notch's sons have something their adversaries lack: years of experience and the deep bond that unites the brothers. Notch 2, though no longer as young as his opponents, demonstrates precise and careful strategy. He engages against the leader of the rival coalition, a fierce lion with a newly developed mane, who launches with the fury of a young animal hungry for power. Every blow Notch 2 dodges, every attack he launches, is calculated, seeking to exhaust the rival without expending his own energy. He learned this from his father. Patience in battles is a rare virtue that few lions possess. While Notch 2 faces the rival leader, his brothers also fight with all they have. Ron, known for his ferocity, engages in brutal combat with two young rivals at the same time. His muscles tense as he roars, sinking his claws into the back of one of the opponents, throwing him to the ground with force. Caesar, the most strategic of the brothers, is right there, working together with Ron to block any attempts by the rivals to flank their position. The two brothers move like a well-oiled machine, each trusting the other to cover their blind spots. The combat of Ron and Caesar is violent, and the two rival males are forced to retreat several times. But they are not ready to give up. One of the young males from the rival coalition manages to break away from Ron and launches a desperate attack against Caesar, trying to catch the lion off guard. For a moment, it seems that Caesar will be knocked down. The young rival advances with speed and precision, his claws ready to tear flesh. But Caesar, with the sharpened reflexes of years of combat, spins at the last second, dodging the attack and delivering a devastating blow to the exposed flank of the enemy. The sound of flesh being torn is audible from a distance, and the rival lets out an agonizing roar as he falls to the ground, mortally wounded. Meanwhile, Grimace and the fifth brother, known for their ability to work together silently and effectively, find themselves facing a pair of equally fierce rivals. These two rival brothers have been a constant threat since the beginning of the invasion, using guerrilla tactics to try to weaken Notch's coalition. Grimace, always calm and meticulous, studies the movements of his opponents, waiting for the right moment to act. His patience is finally rewarded when one of the rivals makes a mistake, exposing himself too much while trying to attack the fifth brother. With a quick and precise movement, Grimace advances, grabbing the lion by the neck and immobilizing him with a sharp strike. While his brothers fight on different fronts, Notch 2 continues his duel with the leader of the rival coalition. The young enemy leader is beginning to show signs of fatigue. His attacks, once quick and full of vigor, are becoming slower, less coordinated. Notch 2 notices this and, with the coolness of an experienced leader, decides it is time to end the fight. He watches the rivals' movements, waiting for the moment when the young leader lowers his guard for just a second. Then it happens. The young lion, exhausted, makes a fatal mistake by launching an uncoordinated attack, leaving his flank vulnerable. Notch 2, seizing the opportunity, charges at him with full force. His claws find the opponent's neck, and the rival leader is brought down to the ground with a roar of pain. The fight between the two finally ends when Notch 2 ends the life of the young lion with a quick and decisive bite to the neck. Silence falls for a brief moment on the battlefield as the rest of the rival coalition watches their leader's defeat. But the battle is not yet over. Even with their leader dead, the other rival males, though demoralized, continue fighting in a last desperate effort to save their lives and their ambitions. Grimace, now freed from his previous battle, joins Ron and Caesar to confront the remaining rivals. The ensuing combat is short but brutal. Notch's brothers work in sync, taking advantage of their numerical advantage and the experience gained from so many years of battles. One by one, the rivals are defeated, some fleeing in desperation, others falling to the ground under the weight of their wounds. When the last of the rival males finally flees, limping and bleeding, the battle comes to an end. The field around is silent, except for the panting of the exhausted and wounded lions. The smell of blood and sweat hangs in the air as the sons of Notch gather, their skins marked by the scars of battle, but victorious. They know this was not just any victory. They faced the greatest challenge of their lives and emerged victorious. This battle was not just for survival. It was for honor, for legacy, and for the continuation of their coalition's dominance. Notch 2, though exhausted, remains firm, surveying the field around him. He knows that with this victory, his position as leader and his father's legacy are secured. The brothers approach him, their breaths still heavy, but relief visible in their eyes. No words are needed. The bond between them is deep, and the victory they just achieved only strengthens this connection. However, the cost of this victory is not forgotten. They are wounded, and the savannah is relentless. Even after this great conquest, the brothers know that other challenges will come. New rivals always emerge, youth always challenges experience, and the struggle for power never truly ends. But today, for now, they can enjoy their victory. They remain together on the battlefield, looking out at the horizon tinged red by the setting sun, knowing that the Masai Mara is still theirs. Notch, who observed from a distance throughout the battle, feels a mix of pride and resignation. His sons are no longer young apprentices. They are leaders, warriors, winners. His work is complete. He has given them all the tools they needed to survive and thrive, and now they are ready to continue the legacy he started. Even though his time as leader is coming to an end, Notch knows that his sons will carry his name forward, perpetuating the dynasty he built. As the sun finally sets, and the night envelops the savannah in a cloak of darkness, Notch 2 and his brothers slowly walk away from the battlefield. The Masai Mara, once again, is theirs, and the reign of the Notch coalition is secure, at least for now. Meanwhile, the fight still shows no signs of stopping. Although the leader of the rival coalition has been defeated, Notch's brothers know that the real battle has not yet ended. They are surrounded by the remaining lions of the enemy coalition, who, even without the leadership of their commander, continue to fight, driven by fury and despair. Notch 2, still panting from the battle he just won, turns to face the next challenge. His body is covered in blood and dust, his muscles sore from the effort, but his mind remains sharp. He knows he cannot let his brothers lose focus now. Victory is within reach, but any slip could be fatal. They need to work together like never before, coordinating as a true war machine. The rivals, realizing they are outnumbered and weakened by the loss of their leader, adopt a different tactic. Instead of attacking head-on, they begin to circle around the brothers, trying to find a gap to attack. The terrain now becomes part of the battle. The high vegetation and sparse trees offer temporary hiding spots, but also potential ambushes. Every move is a gamble, and every step could bring victory or ruin. Caesar, always the most cunning of the brothers, notices the new tactic of the rivals and quickly communicates to his brothers with a short roar, alerting them to the change in strategy. The sons of Notch form a tight circle, with their backs against each other, protecting their flanks and preventing the enemies from attacking from the sides. It is a defensive maneuver, but effective, demonstrating the ability to cooperate, developed over so many years of hunting and battles. Grimace, always observant, sees one of the young rivals sneaking through the tall bushes, trying a stealthy approach. He patiently waits for the right moment, his eyes fixed on the opponent he believes is hidden. When the young lion finally leaps, believing he has caught Grimace by surprise, it is too late. With an agile move, Grimace dodges the attack and counterattacks with precision, striking the enemy in the ribs. The rival lion lets out a roar of pain, staggering, and is quickly followed by a final blow that knocks him to the ground. Grimace shows no visible emotion. For him, it is just another part of the job. Meanwhile, Ron and Caesar continue facing two rival males who, unlike their defeated companion, remain aggressive and persistent. They attack incessantly, trying to break through the defenses of the Notch coalition. Ron, known for his brutality, blocks one of the attacks with impressive force, his claws tearing the rival's skin as he pushes the enemy away. Beside him, Caesar takes advantage of the distraction caused by Ron to launch himself at another opponent, knocking him to the ground with a fierce strike to the neck. For a few moments, it seems that the battle is about to be decided in favor of Notch's sons. But then, a new complication arises. The remaining males of the rival coalition, who until now were circling the battle at a distance, decide to launch a final attack. They advance with renewed force, driven by desperation and the instinct for survival. It's a coordinated attack in which each lion charges simultaneously at Notch's brothers. The impact of the attack catches the brothers off guard for a brief moment. Grimace is hit from the side and thrown to the ground by one of the larger males, who immediately tries to immobilize him with the weight of his body. Notch, too, realizing the danger, rushes to help his brother, but is blocked by another lion who strikes him with claws on his shoulder. Notch, too,'s roar of pain echoes through the savannah, but he does not retreat. With a Herculean effort, he manages to free himself from the enemy and run toward Grimace. Meanwhile, Ron and Caesar, isolated from the other brothers, are surrounded by two rivals who attack with fury. Caesar, always quick in thought, changes strategy. Instead of confronting the two at once, he slightly retreats, trying to draw one of the rivals into an unfavorable position. And the tactic works. One of the males blindly chases him, leaving his flank exposed to Ron, who wastes no time and launches himself at him with a devastating blow that ends the fight. The other rival, seeing his companion fall, hesitates for a moment, long enough for Caesar to counterattack and deliver the final blow. However, Grimace's situation remains critical. The lion who had knocked him down is about to deliver the fatal blow when Notch 2 finally reaches the scene. With a deafening roar, Notch 2 attacks with renewed force, his muscles tensed with adrenaline. He grabs the lion from behind, forcing him to release Grimace, and in a swift and brutal maneuver, knocks the rival down. The enemy lion tries to defend himself, but he is too exhausted to resist. Notch 2 ends the fight with a fatal bite to the neck, and the enemy falls lifeless to the ground. Now, with only one rival remaining, victory seems finally within the brothers' grasp. The last male of the rival coalition, seeing his companions dead or fled, attempts one last desperate charge, advancing on Caesar with uncontrollable fury. But Caesar, already anticipating the move, is ready. He ducks at the exact moment the rival leaps, dodging the attack, and then spins to face the enemy. In a fraction of a second, Caesar sinks his claws into the rear legs of the rival lion, pulling him to the ground with a precise strike. The rival lion struggles, but it is futile. Ron and Notch 2 join Caesar, and together they finish off the last enemy. The battlefield, once full of life and movement, is now silent. The rivals are dead or have fled, and Notch's coalition remains standing, victorious. But this victory comes at a price. The brothers are exhausted, their bodies covered in wounds and scars. Each breath is heavy, and the smell of blood fills the air around them. Notch too, still panting, looks at his brothers. They won, but he knows this was not just a physical battle. It was a battle for their father's legacy and the future of their coalition. They have proven themselves and to the Masai Mara that they are the true kings of these lands. Notch's name will continue to be feared and respected, and his sons now have the responsibility to carry this legacy forward. As night approaches, the lions, still bleeding and sore, begin to move away from the battlefield. They walk side by side, a coalition more united than ever, knowing that as long as they are together, they can face any threat that the Masai Mara presents to them. The sun slowly sets on the horizon, and the savannah is covered by the darkness of night. But in the minds of the lions, the flame of victory burns brightly, a flame that will light the path of their dynasty for many years to come. Notch's legacy is not over here. His sons have proven that they are worthy of his inheritance, and the Masai Mara is still theirs. As the battle ends, the Masai Mara seems to breathe again. The gentle wind moves through the savannah, moving the tall grass that now covers the battlefield, while silence reigns. The bodies of the defeated lions lie on the ground, and the marks of battle begin to disappear with the fall of night. Notch's sons, though wounded and exhausted, remain firm. They won, but they know the cycle of life in the Masai Mara is relentless. Today's victory is a reaffirmation of the power of the coalition, but also a reminder that the reign of a lion is always temporary, always challenged. Notch, too, now clearly the leader of the coalition, guides his brothers to a safer location, away from the dangers that may arise after the battle. The sky, previously painted with shades of orange and red by the sunset, is now dark, starry, and the moon lights the way for the lions. The wounded bodies of the brothers hurt, but they know they have survived something monumental. The Notch coalition is not just a group of lions, but a force united by a legacy, a lineage that stretches through generations. Notch two's thoughts are full of memories of his father, Notch. He knows that, although he led his brothers in battle, it was Notch's training and teachings that prepared them for this moment. Notch was more than a leader to them. He was the architect of the future. Everything they learned, from hunting strategies to resilience in battles, was passed on by Notch, who always looked beyond the present moment, always planned for what was to come. Notch too understands that his father was right in all the lessons he taught, and now, as the new leader, it is his turn to perpetuate these lessons. As they arrive at the resting place, the lions lie down to lick their wounds and recover their energies. They know this was not the last battle they will face. The Masai Mara is always changing, with new lions emerging, territorial disputes renewing, and predators challenging each other. However, the Notch coalition is now stronger than ever, united by the struggle and the shared victory. Each of the brothers understands his role within this dynamic, and together they are prepared to protect the territory they inherited. Notch, the patriarch, no longer actively participates in the fights, but his spirit is still felt in every decision his sons make. In his time, he built a dynasty, and now that dynasty lives through his descendants. He watches from afar, his presence more symbolic than physical, but he knows his legacy is secure. His sons have proven they are worthy of continuing the lineage and maintaining the name of Notch as a synonym for power in the Masai Mara. The documentarians who have followed the story of Notch and his sons, like Jonathan Scott, capture these final scenes with reverence. They understand that they are witnessing something rare, a true dynasty of lions, whose lives and battles are not just isolated stories of survival, but a continuous narrative of leadership, sacrifice, and legacy. The world will watch the rise of Notch and his sons, fascinated by the relentless cycle of wildlife. The years pass, and the reign of Notch and his sons becomes a legend among the lions of the Masai Mara. Other groups attempt to challenge the coalition, but none can shake their position of power. Notch too, Ron, Caesar, Grimace, and their younger brother continue to expand their territory, maintaining control over one of the largest areas of the savannah. The coalition grows, new generations are born, and the name of Notch remains a beacon, an example of leadership for all who dare challenge them. However, Like all stories, that of Notch and his sons also comes to an end. The wildlife is a continuous cycle, where each generation carries the marks of the previous one. Notch, now old and removed from the life of battles, finally succumbs to the passage of time. His death, although silent and unheralded, leaves a profound impact on the coalition. His sons honor him by continuing to defend the territory and perpetuating the lessons he imparted. They know that the strength of a coalition is not only in victories, but in the ability to adapt, survive, and protect each other. Even after the death of Notch, his legacy continues to live through his sons and grandchildren. The name of Notch will be told for generations, not just among the lions, but also among those who study and admire wildlife. He has become a symbol of perseverance, a lion who not only survived, but thrived in one of the most relentless environments on Earth. The savannah, eternal and unchanged in its cycle of life and death, still carries the echoes of Notch's roars. His presence, though no longer physical, is deeply rooted in the Masai Mara. Each dawn brings new challenges, but the legacy of Notch, passed down from generation to generation, will remain alive. And so, the cycle continues. New kings will be born, new battles will be fought, but the story of Notch, the great king, will never be forgotten. If you've made it this far and enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel until our next encounter.